Salutations, Queen of Shade here, and I would like to formally, cordially welcome you to Season 3 of One-on-One with the Queen of Shade. Oh, we are so excited to be entering our Season 3 of One-on-One with the Queen of Shade. It has been quite an honor to speak to the most amazing Black and Latin men and women and Caucasians at times that live on the world's stage of social media. It has truly been an honor, and I have enjoyed every single moment of it. So listen, what you need to do right now is get yourself a snack and come on back to watch this show. Because, baby, we have so many wonderful conversations lined up for your viewing pleasure. These are not interviews. These are interviews. Show us what your soul looks like. Yes, we see you on social media, but let us see your humanity behind the beauty. Beauty is invincible, darling. But now, let's make it talk. So come on, let's get to the interview and enjoy it together. I love you very much, and thank you for supporting me for 3 seasons. Mwah.
Love and sex, fools know best. It's the ones that want control of me. When they buy, they pay my currency. Why do you act so surprised? Cause I make them feel alive again. Cause I make them feel like they can win. Cause I always let the record spin. Cause I never let the party end. Cause I make them feel alive again. Cause I make them feel like they can win. Cause I always let the record spin. Cause I never let the party end. Come on into my boudoir. Come on into my party. Come on into my boudoir. Come on into my party. Come on into my boudoir. Come on into my party. Come on into my boudoir. Come on into my party. Love and sex means parties. 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 Then the rules you can choose. We don't tolerate the enemy. What you do here remains judgment free. You're so safe here. Cause I make them feel alive again. Cause I make them feel like they can win. Cause I always let the record spin. Cause I never let the party end. Cause I make them feel alive again. Cause I make them feel like they can win. Cause I always let the record spin. Cause I never let the party end. Come on into my boudoir. Come on into my party. Come on into my boudoir. Come on into my party. Come on into my boudoir. Come on into my party. Come on into my boudoir. Come on into my party. Love and sex means parties. 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 Today's guest is Victor Williams.
Salutations, Queen of Shade here, welcoming you to One-on-One with the Queen of Shade, Season 3. Season 3 is an amazing opportunity. We've done it 2 seasons prior to this one. We've talked to amazing people around the world, beautiful Black and Latin men, some Caucasians too, and some women. And we're so grateful that we are entering Season 3 and continuing the conversation. These are not interviews. These are interviews where we discuss and we talk back and forth. And it's a wonderful experience. And I'm so glad that you've joined us today, so that you can continue to enjoy the conversations between 2 very brilliant minds, I will say. Yes, I said I was brilliant. And yes, when I introduce this person, you will also see that they are brilliant as well. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce to you a man whom literally is my best friend. He hails us from San Antonio, Texas. And we met in, I want to say 2018 or 2019. I think it might have been 2019, right before the pandemic. The reason why I'm telling you this is we have maintained a beautiful long distance relationship. And this man is literally my rock. Not only is he my best friend, he is also to me a company investor. You never know where your blessings are going to come from. And this young man, who is younger than I am, saw the value in what I was doing and decided to lend not just his voice, not just a like and a share, but financial stability so that I could continue to do what I'm doing. So before I introduce him, just everyone say thank you for the dress because he paid for it. You may hear him not call me Queen. He may call me BJ, or he may call me Bjorn. For those of you that have been living under a rock and don't know the Queen of Shade brand for these last 13 years, my name is Bjorn, and my friends call me BJ. So if you hear him say anything other than Queen, he has a pass, because I told you we're best friends. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me and help me welcome to my camera Mr. Victor Williams. Hey, right, right. A show, right? It's crazy. He always tells me this. I'm dramatic. Yes, I'm dramatic. I like the show. How are you today, Vic?
Sick too, so it's okay.
Yeah, you're used to it. How are you today?
I am doing good. Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm just gonna say it like that.
Yeah, you're just gonna leave it like that. That is okay. Now, for those of you that are just watching, what you need to understand about me and Victor is that Wednesdays and Thursdays are our days. Those 2 days we talk on the phone and we discuss various topics, various things that are going on in both of our lives. So today, Victor agreed to give up his personal time with me to come and do this very public display. Now, if you haven't realized it or not, Victor's a very private person, if you haven't realized it. He doesn't really do a lot of talking, but I know him. So once we start talking, he talks to me. So once we start talking, you'll understand and he'll open up and you'll see, based on what the topics we're talking about today, you'll hear his opinions. Now, what you need to understand about this is actually a continuation of a conversation that we had yesterday. And we're going to get deep on you really fast because we were talking about identity and we were also talking about agency over one's body, over one's self, over one's opinions, over one's consciousness, everything like that. And Victor and I both are survivors of people, especially when we were children, whom took egregious autonomy and advantage of our bodies and our agency. And it took him and I both a very long time to regain that agency over our own bodies. So we talk about these things and we do them together and we heal together. And it's a beautiful thing. So Vic, you wanna start us off and tell them what we were talking about, recap from your side.
Okay. So, well, first off, you look great.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. But yeah, so yesterday we were talking about. Well, I was more so recalling bits of my childhood um where I sort of got, in a weird, twisted way, revenge on, the person who assaulted me. I'm not really sure the words I can say
You can
or
say
not.
everything. You can say everything. I just
Okay.
Yeah, you can say
Uh,
everything.
Well, no, because I want you to be monetized, friend. You know.
Guess what? Yeah, we'll be fine.
Okay, great. So yeah, you know how I kind of got, in a twisted way, revenge over my rapist during the time that we had together. And mind you, for your audience, a lot of what I say may sound romanticized. It's just the way I talk. I have a very poetic way of speaking. Do not blame me, blame God. So, but anyway, yeah. So, we were talking about that, and I was talking to you about how my mentor at the time, my very first mentor ever, who just so happened to be a 16-year-old gangbanger, uh, and how he gave me, again in a weird, twisted way, he gave me back agency over my own actions, because we were touching on how people often mistake uh when things like this happen, right? People often come to the wrong conclusions when they hear survivors say, how they were manipulated into believing whatever position their abuser put them in. And I was saying how I felt like when people hear survivor stories, they they picture in their minds the abuser just verbally telling us over and over again what our position is and da 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 da, and that's not how it works. You know, we are brainwashed, yes, but not by words. A lot of us, it's through the repeated actions. What we are repeatedly forced to endure is what reinforces, what we think our position is, or the position they put us in. Right. That's what leads to the belief. Because it's either you believe that or you die. Like, it really feels that urgent, that dire. Your brain really does take things that are forced upon it very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a survivor, like, people may, when they hear my story, people have questioned my actions. Like, okay, well, why did you stay? Why did you enter into a contract with your rapist instead of turning them into somebody? And it's like, when it happens, because for me, it happened from the ages of 10 to around 12. And it's like, I had a lot going on at home. You know, I I say I was neglected, and and I kind of was, but I clarify that it wasn't purposeful. Like a lot of kids growing up in the 90s and early 2000s, I was left at home a lot. My parents had to work, but it's more like emotional neglect, you know, um, because I'm sure you've heard the term single mother being used for women, especially those who are married, but take all the brunt of everything. It's kind of like that. My parents were around, they were there, I saw them, I spoke to them sometimes, but did I feel safe? Could I go to them with my problems and my fears and my doubts, and tell them what was going on with me? No. My parents were very hmm, dramatic, for lack of a better term. They were very dramatic. Anything going on with me was like, either it was no big deal at all, like no effort, or it was as if Mount Kilimanjaro started speaking French. Like there was no middle ground.
Yeah.
You know,
Sounds very
no.
bipolar. Sounds very bipolar. Night and day. It sounds
Yeah,
no middle.
it's funny that you bring this into it because I'm pretty sure my mother is bipolar type 2. She has never been diagnosed to my knowledge. I learned through the grapevine of my family that I think she's been tested or has been approached to be tested.
Mhm.
But the assessments back in the 60s and 70s weren't as extensive as they are now. So I don't know what the conclusion was at the time, but I do know that whatever it was, nothing was. If something was done about it, it was not effective.
Yeah.
Right. So with all of that being said, it was like I didn't have someone to turn her into. And I mean, yeah, okay, the teacher, but like this stuff, the only thing that happened at school was like my molestation
Yeah.
from her, you know? And that was just in passing. Like, it's very hard for a teacher to really know what to do when they are in charge of there were at least close to 20 kids in my class.
Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah, it was close to 20 kids in my class.
Because he was in honors courses. Because he was in honors courses, he was in a special program for gifted youngsters. So we need to know that. So he was in a very special program. There were only enough blacks that you could count on three fingers. But yeah, so he was in very special classes, honors classes. No, because this plays a point. Because as you're sitting here telling them, this is going to come full circle. So please continue, because I want them to know this. Because there's a lot we talk about, and this he's setting it up, because if you haven't latched on to what we're talking about being molested, we're talking about being raped, we're talking about our agency of our bodies being taken from us, and we're talking about being forced to play a role, and then through action believing that that role is what we have to play, and people to walk away, because I know I did. You walk away your entire rest of your life thinking that that's the role you have to play, and it impedes your sexual relationships, it impedes your occupational relationships, it impedes so much. So I'm already there, because yeah, they gonna get, yeah. Please continue, because I'm there already, because I know what happened to me, and I know the role that I was forced to play, and I know what it did to me. So having you explain to them is beautiful. Can you go into a little bit of detail as to how the rapes happen, because they need to understand the diabolical way that this happened. This wasn't just touchy feely. There were other instruments used, and I need them to understand that if you feel comfortable going that way, because they need to know, like how diabolical it was.
Okay, I'll go into a little detail.
Yeah, just a little. I know you're a private man, just a little bit.
Okay, well, for context, I only have a little bit of detail
Mm.
because of what happened. But okay, so how the rapes would happen is that it's very fuzzy because I would get drugged often. Um, and it's like one moment I'm drinking something, and the next moment it's like I'm waking up and it really does sound like a horror story
It
actually.
is a horror story. You were 10 years old being drugged.
Yes, it is a horror story. Okay, I see you know what? My mind keeps the horror down for my mental health.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, it actually is a horror story.
Mm-hmm.
But like most horror stories, then I'm waking up and I'm tied to this bed, and she's on top of me, and it's just like getting her life. And that happened at least 3 times before I was like, hey, what the fuck? Like, we need to switch this up. I think I actually avoided her for a bit because, like, I don't want anyone to think that, like, this happened back to back to back. Because, again, a misconception about rape, it's never fast. Like, I want people to understand that. It's never fast.
That part, friend.
Like, it's never fast. Um, and especially when you survive it, it's even slower,
Mhm.
you know. But like, so I kind of approached her, the next time I was over her house because I did avoid her as best as I could, right? I mean, and to help you understand how difficult this was for me, besides the fact that I was a child having to deal with memories of waking up and having this girl just riding me, but I can't move, like, aside from that, I actually had a crush on this girl, you know. Before she did this, that's the reason why I was even at her house to begin with, even around her house to begin with, was because, like, I mean, at 10 years old, it wasn't that clear, it wasn't like, oh, I like her. It was like at 10 years old, those thoughts were barely starting to develop in my mind. So it was more like, oh, I just got this feeling when I'm around her. I just want to be around her, Or like, when she's around, I'm looking at her, It was more like that, you know.
I want to put a pin in that and add a little bit more context to this.
Mm,
We don't need to go any deeper. You've given enough details, and we're gonna go from this. But I need you guys to understand something. When this started, this happened in my best friend's life from 10 years old to 12 years old. What you have to understand is he's already told you this wasn't back to back to back. It was very slow. It was over time. He also, which I know me from my own rape experience, my own molestation experience, because it was both. I was molested by a man, raped by a woman. So I understand what he's talking about when he says it's slow. But what you need to understand is this is a young lady. So if she's doing this to him, now think about this, because this is the word keeps coming to me, diabolical, because you have to understand what needs to be put into this context. She's someone my best friend goes to school with.
mm.
She's someone my best friend sees often. So
Every day.
where's she getting the drugs from?
Yeah.
Who's helping her secure the drugs to do the action? Okay? I just want to put that out there. Who's helping her? Who's grooming her to do this to my best friend? Continue.
Yeah. But yeah, yeah, she was in my class, and I did see her every day. And to make matters even more confusing for me, my school had this whole you can't bully someone if you're forced to work with them, like my school, especially in my class, my teacher loved to put kids together who don't speak to each other. you know, for some reason, my school loved to split up friend groups
Mhm.
and force you to be friendly with everybody. And I get it, school trains you for the workforce and you have to learn to speak to people and talk to people that you don't like. And maybe had I told my teacher something, it would have been a little different. But again, I'm 10 years old. Do you expect me to have these thoughts at 10?
And you would have had to remember them. You were drugged.
Right.
You were drugged. That's
And that's another thing too. Like at the time, the memories weren't clear to me as memories. Like because my vision was hazy, my thoughts foggy. Like like that filter that people use to simulate when they punched out somebody and they're like, oh, let them get up, get up, get up. It's kind of like that, where like you open your eyes and like everything is unfocused, you know? And yeah, so like I only knew that it was true, to be honest, because of the way her friends would speak to her about me.
oh wow. So
No, like they weren't saying anything explicit or
she told
anything.
people. She told people.
She must have, because there was this one friend in particular. She was friends with this white girl,
Hmm.
and I'm only calling her a white girl because I do not remember her name. Okay, this was like fifth grade. And for those who may question now, the girl who did this to me was black. Um, and she was around the same skin tone as me. She was a little lighter, you know. More like the Queen of Shades skin tone. Unfortunately for
I was gonna
you,
say, you saw me shake my head. I'm like,
it's okay. It didn't dampen my view of people with your skin tone.
get this, but get this. Most of the time, when people experience trauma, it does that. They don't want to be around people. If it happened with a man with a bald head, they don't want to be around men with bald heads. Like because even with mine, once it happened to me, I didn't want to be around anything that reminded me of that or anyone that reminded me of that. And what people need to understand because I was 8 when I was molested. And what you have to understand about this is it ties into the future of what we're talking about, where you believe because you are being physically programmed, not just emotionally, not just spiritually, not just mentally, by action. You are being physically programmed to facilitate a specific position.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was so, I don't understand it, but you need to understand this about predators. They know when they have their mark.
Yeah,
They watch you.
they
They
do.
know the type of child that you are. They know the type of traits that need to already exist in you that will make you susceptible to their delusion and their will and way. And even with mine, as we're going to continue with his, I was 8 years old. This was at a trusted family member's house. I was 8. He was 19, 20, 21. He was a fully formed man. But see, get this. I had to go to I've had 20 years of therapy, you know this. I had to go to therapy about this because I too had a crush on him. I too, as a young gay kid whom should not have been introduced to any more than just that's just a crush, got thrown into a world of sexual desire that I was not ready for. And I
Mm.
already, like, for so long I had to have not just my therapist but members of my family, even you at times, tell me, sweetheart, kids only know what feels good,
Mhm.
especially when it's someone that you admire. And I'm
Mm.
saying this because what he did to me, the manner in which he did what he did, let me drive this home for you guys. It is the manner and it is the way that I entreat consenting adults that want to be intimate with me.
Same, same, same.
What I learned what we learned. Listen to the pathology here. What we learned with mine. He's dead now. He took his time.
Mhm.
Very, very praising, very, very subtle, very uplifting, very supportive, very understanding, very exploitive of my natural desire to be attracted to him. And every man I have ever been intimate with as an adult, I'm about to turn 43 this month, the end of this month. Each and every single man I have been with like him and I were. The only difference is they consented.
Yeah, same here. Every interaction I had after her, yeah, I initiate sex, in it's the same way. And I
Minus
don't mean
the
it
drugging. Let's get it. Minus the drugging. Minus the drugging.
minus,
Minus the tying
minus
up.
hugging, minus the tying up. I don't do that. But at the same time, I learn everything about the person that I want to, pursue, whether it be for just one good fuck, or whether it be for a relationship, or some confusing variation of the two. I learn them. I study them. Like, my rapist was also my first stalker. Like, she remembered the little things about me, you know? And she would compliment things that people didn't notice.
Look at the manipulation.
Like one time we were in class, and the way that the classroom was set up was that there were two big rows of desk, and there were, two sides to each row, and one row was on the wall, on one far side of the wall, and the other was on the other far side of the wall, where there was a row of a line of
Yes.
windows.
Windows, I
Yeah,
mean.
windows. And so each desk, there's two desks, and they're facing each other, and it makes up the one big row. And so, my desk faced this way, her desk faced this way that she happened to be sitting at the time, because we were working independently or whatever. And it's funny that I remember that. We were working independently. So she was working with her friend, and they're chit chatting and stuff. And I take off my glasses. Well, actually, no. She gets my attention, and I noticed how she would always like say my name with intention, always intentional. And and I answered her, and she looks at me and she stares at me, like every time she talked to me, it's like she gave it thought.
Mm-hmm.
And she asked me to take off my glasses because I wore glasses at the time.
Yeah.
And so I took off my glasses, and I'm blind without my glasses. I cannot see features. I can only see shapes and colors, but everything is very blurry. And I can see her look at her friend, like her and her friend, they immediately go, "Aw," and she comments on how cute I look
Mhm.
without my glasses. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I want to add to this? Once a predator has you conditioned physically and mentally to where they want you, there is no more need for the restraint because you're restrained in your mind already. People need to see the layers of this, what we were talking about yesterday. Once you got them,
Story, you know.
like
Yeah.
once you got them, no need for
Yeah.
no more drug need, no more tying up need, no
Yeah.
more. We respond to you. We automatically cater to,
Mm-hmm.
and not just to you, to every person going forward in our lives whom exhibit the same sort of care and concern. It is it is disgusting how things that should be natural, care, concern, respect, appreciation,
Yeah.
these things can be twisted.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know me. Even when a man, I get this, I'm the queen. Even when I was working on the phone sex lines as a female, impersonating a female. Because for those of you that didn't know, I'm a man, but I am. But anyway, I digress. Even on the lines of being a female phone sex agent, I was actually praised by my boss for something I did naturally that they taught the other girls in the call center to do. And we call that an ego stroke. During a call, because there were many managers, during a call, they were the angels. So they would listen in on your call and the way that you were handling your gentleman caller. The entire experience lasted 35 minutes. $4.99 a minute, not cheap. But they would get on the line and only you could hear them. But it was so business delivering this sexual fantasy that they would be on the line with you. And they would tell you if he got too hot, if he was stroking too fast, if you needed to slow him down, you needed to ego stroke him, build his confidence in you. So you would pay him a compliment. And you would pay him a compliment based on what you hear about him because you can't see him. I excelled at this job because my boss told me, you're a natural ego stroker. You naturally praise the details about a man. I can hear a man talk to me, and in what he says to me, I can listen to this. It's not a farce. I can genuinely find in conversation what needs to be praised. But I learned that from being molested.
Yeah. I am a natural charmer. If I want to be all honey sweet with you, I will. If I need to stroke your ego, I will. Whatever I need to do to get you to believe whatever it is I want, I will do. But I learned that from an 11-year-old girl
That was taking advantage of you and,
that was taking advantage of
and
me.
having help from someone that could get their hands on drugs.
No help, because it will forever be unknown to me. Now, I do remember seeing an adult a time or two. I believe it may have been her mother. I am really not sure. Because I never really knew all the people that lived in the house, you know what I mean? Like, we were alone when this was happening, or so I was under the impression that we were alone. It was an apartment, like, for those of you who aren't in Texas, because people in Texas will know what I'm talking about. Apartments are not like this big thing that people can hide in, you know. Like especially if you are in San Antonio and happen to be, near Roosevelt High School. You know that you could walk into those apartments and literally from the front door look, and unless they're in a room, you can literally from the door see who's there, how many rooms there are in the house, everything. Like the way it's stationed, nothing is hidden really.
Yeah.
But and we were in a bedroom, so was it her room? I don't know. Probably, maybe, or maybe it was her mother's bedroom. I don't know that.
And you know what's sad? The sad thing is, for
Yeah.
a lot of the remainder of your life, you will constantly, and see, that's what people don't understand. You will forever, as long as you live, you will forever be trying to piece together what happened for real.
Yeah. And the thing about trauma happening when you're young is that you may never get those memories back. There is a good possibility that you will never get those memories back because that is just what your brain, having no other tools, having no other options, because you're a child. I was a child. My brain was not developed yet. Sure, if I was a teenager, I would be able to better assess all the things that I could do, like not take her drink even though I'm thirsty as fuck and it's hot outside. You know, like as a kid, when I took the drink, the only real thought I can remember thinking is, and this is the final time that I was drugged, was how come I never remember what happens after this?
Oh my God.
You know? And and then rinse and fucking repeat. And that's what stuck in my head like, yo, something has to change. But again, I'm 10. You know, of course, so I sat her down, I talked with her, more like pleading with her. Like, okay, I'm kind of tired of this happening. This doesn't feel good. Like if sex is what you want, you just say that.
Ah,
you
because
know,
now you're open to it. You see, she's conditioned you, so did mine. Now you're open to it, and get this, you're a child, and and that's the thing people need to understand because I don't want anybody to say to me, "Oh no, that's too young." Da 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 da. Then why are these young girls having babies? It's because of what happens early to them. So you are already having a full sexual awakening at a time where sexual desire should be dormant.
the reason why progressive parents preach hard about making sure your child understands what right and wrong actually are is because of moments like that one. Because had my parents understood that I needed to understand fully, at least on a very simple, basic way, what right and wrong is, at least enough for me to know that if it feels wrong, it's probably wrong,
Yeah.
Because then I probably, at 10 years old, would have thought to myself, I don't like the way it feels when she looks at me. I'm gonna stay away from her because I don't like the way that feels. I developed that later, thanks to her. Moving forward, like the skin tone didn't really catch me at 10, but you know what did catch me at 10? The way that she was so eager to be in my presence. The way that she watched me all the time. So that in turn developed a fear specifically against women who took too much interest in me.
Yeah.
especially when it happened too fast. That was the trigger warning for me.
Yeah.
So I stayed away from any woman. I could have been interested in a woman, getting ready to take her to bed, everything. And the moment that she acts way too eager,
It's over.
all interest in her gone.
Hmm.
Gone.
Hmm.
Because now I'm wondering, why are you so eager? What are you planning to what do you how do you think this is about to go? Like, the thing about trauma is it traps you not only in what happened to you, but also in the mindset you were in when it happened. So yeah, I know I'm a grown man, I know that.
Trauma, trauma, stuff.
But,
Mm-hmm.
but when I get triggered, I'm not grown in my mind anymore. I'm 10 again. I'm 10 being forced to deal with this girl's affections.
You know,
Well, I mean, it was more than affections, because let's be clear, forcing yourself on somebody is never okay. It's never okay. Whether it's your body, your intentions, what you want,
your
you should never
will, your
force,
will, your demands, nothing.
you should never force your will on anyone. It's never okay.
Now do this. I want them to stay because then this takes us into our next portion. So this happened, and you and I both were left to process this all of our lives. You 35, me getting ready to be 43. We're left with these wounds. What
Mhm.
position did it cause you to play? What fetish or kink? Because that's what happens. Because even when I was at this phone sex job and they taught me about sex as a whole and the human brain and the minds of men, it was definitely a life altering experience working at that job. So explain to us, like I said, because working at the phone sex place and learning the mind of man and learning the mind of human and human nature and what you introduce to it, fetishes, kinks, things are born out of trauma. And what I learned at that same job was, because my boss had a degree, a master's in psychology, I learned that something would happen to a man and it would be traumatic. But I learned that even in his ages and growing up or whenever it happened, he would return to it as a kink. It was literally something that became a part of him. So explain to us what position this believed or tried to make you believe you had to play, being tied up, being the one that didn't remember, being. Tell us, you go ahead.
Over the years, I hadn't actually thought about that, but recently, throughout my healing journey, I have been thinking about it. So I can actually answer that question, kind of. Um, so it wasn't necessarily the being tied up and being drugged that solidified. Well, actually, no, I'm lying. It did solidify as a kink, but in a very small way. Like, I do enjoy tying people up and things of that nature. I myself do not enjoy being restrained. Um, I have grown to accept um natural restraint. You know, like with like my body, me restraining myself, or clothing or something of that nature. But as far as like to actually be in a position where I cannot move, that's a no go, right? um But yeah, so the position that I was forced to play was that of like think of like the submissive male with his mistress, you know.
Yeah,
And mind you, she's 11, so it's not like she's creative, right? Or, you know, or knows what that means or anything. Um, but again, I don't know where she got it from, you
exactly.
know.
Exactly.
Um, it could have been her mom's job or something, you know, because now looking back at it in retrospect, her mom did dress not spicy, but borderline. Like, she wasn't slutty, but I do remember, like, she was the type of mom that one of the times I saw her, you know, clearly, you know, her hair was done, you know, it was slicked up and, you know, styled or whatever. And she had on, you know, all black, but like her shirt was tucked into her jeans and, you know, was belted and whatnot. But like, you could see all the curves of her body.
So basically, a powerful woman, like a dominatrix would be, a powerful woman, a woman that is in
She did have a
yeah,
air of "don't fuck with me" about her.
yeah,
Like I could fuck shit up, you know,
yeah. You know,
type energy.
yeah. You know what's so crazy is in my life, and I fought against this for years, but in my life, both being raped by a woman, molested by a man, I was basically programmed through action to be the submissive. There was only one problem. I don't have a single submissive bone in my body. And I remember it was at that very same job. And I did that job from 2007 to about 2009, almost 2010. It was funny because that job was kind of transient too. A lot of the girls came in and out. It was a way to make quick money and go on about what you were doing. We had many girls that were also in college trying to put the way through college, and they had very beautiful voices. Now, case in point, even myself, I received a lot of notoriety at that job because I didn't just speak like a woman. I behaved like a Caucasian woman, what they would say. From my upbringing, being raised in the suburbs, being able to speak long, you know, the long way, not short, always slang and things like that, abbreviations and things like that. I had this air. I'm also known for it now as a queen of shade. My rhetoric, my monologue, my cadence. I had that. And, you know, the crazy thing is I met a dominatrix who was passing through, and she did an assessment on me. She just was standing there and she was assessing me as a man because I was the only man in the call center. And she looked at me and she said, Bjorn, correct me if I'm wrong. She said, you know, but you don't have a single submissive bone in your body. And I feel that people try to get you to be submissive because they think that that's the role you should play, but it's a mistake to try to get you to play that role. Now, context of this is coming to myself as an adult. I'm feminine. I'm flamboyant. I was a model. I'm longer, I'm thinner, I'm waif-like. They even in modeling, they wanted me to do the women's shows. Even now as a queen of shade, I cross-dress. It's what comes natural to me for this bone structure and for my mannerism. But let's not get this confused. My mannerism, my bone structure, my way of being is mine. And it is not to be put to the service of someone else. So I found even men. My dating life when I first started was so hard. Even my hookup life, so hard because everyone wanted to fuck me. Everyone wanted to fuck. Well, and the attitude, it was a general consensus that, well, you're a woman. You're supposed to lay down and take it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think as an adult, that was the first time that something started to shift in me and I started to wake up. So you go. I'll say more on this as we go, but your turn.
Yeah, I wanted to say some. I wanted to inject something right there. Like, yeah, that whole you're a woman, you're supposed to take it type stuff. For me, the opposite being, well, you're a man, you're supposed to be the dominant one. It actually gave me a complex because it was never my choice. I never had like the final say in how I fucked her, when I fucked her, if I fucked her, you know? It was very much so sex slave on call because I told her, hey, you don't have to drug me. I actually do like you, so we could just fuck, or whatever this is. A secret friendship is what I called it at the time, and, but this was before it turned sexual. But, yeah.
I find that people hearing this need to pick up a psychology book because what you're saying is you found a way to survive. You
Hmm.
found a way to survive that would give you some semblance of power and authority and autonomy over yourself and what
What
happened.
I wanted.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
got what I got the girl, essentially.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because I'm going to even jump into this because this ties into what we were talking about yesterday, which is the reason why we've come full circle. The reason why we've given them context, we've given them story. But what they need to understand is you and I are very, very fortunate because in our sordid past, there was a switch where we started to wake up.
Mhm.
Most people, some women, some men, they never have that wake up moment and they stay in that role of subservient, submissive forever.
Yeah.
But the reason why you and I even click is because we are two very dominant personalities. And I want people to understand what that means. Dominance in personality has nothing to do with what you see.
Mhm.
It has
Mhm.
nothing to do with what you are looking at. It is simply the way we see ourselves, live our lives, and execute everything that we do. We do it from a standpoint of control.
Mhm.
And what people need to understand about me is I love consent as well. But once I receive consent, I assume full control. It is literally a necessity. I
Mhm.
cannot have intercourse with any man where I am not in control. It will not my body will shut down. I cannot, it is the craziest thing because even in my young adult life where I believe this, okay, you're a girl, you were a model, you got this thin little body, you got this tiny little waist, you need to be taking dick. That's what everyone is saying you need to do. This is what you need to do. There's only one
Mhm.
problem. When I went to do it, I felt so foreign. I felt in my own body, I felt a disconnect unlike anything. I'm talking to you as my friend. Like I'm telling you this because we didn't talk about this part, but this is just me telling you. I felt the greatest disconnect I've ever felt in my life. It was as if my soul and my spirit and my mind went somewhere else. And the only thing present was my body.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, because my manifestos are being published now and you've been reading them, they're going to be the book. I'm doing the tell all book. So even in those early years, I was having survival sex because I was homeless. In those capacities of survival sex, I had to be the submissive. I was always the one being fucked.
Mhm.
So the reinforcement of this is how you get what you need, not what you want. This is
Mhm.
how you get what you need. You got to bend over.
Mhm.
You got to bend over. You got to bend over. And I said all that to say this. You and I both, we've spoken. Something clicked.
Mhm.
And it was it was in our diving deep into who we were and who we present and who, like the deep core intrinsic programming of who we are. We found something that had been hidden for so long, even from us. And that was that we were not meant to be anyone's submissive.
Right. Right. Because like especially in my relationships, especially the early ones after her, you know, um and and during her in a way because yeah, my very first girlfriend that I chose is how I always introduce her when I speak about her. Because I did have relationshipy experience. It just wasn't healthy relationshipy experience.
Exactly. It
But
didn't
it
work
was with
exactly. You had a poor teacher. Exactly.
right, but it was with my rapist. So clearly I didn't feel like I chose that bond. So when I did choose a bond, I gave it that honorific. But yeah, so there would be a point in the relationship where something would change, where it's like she would understand something about me that I hadn't yet understood about myself.
Uh,
Because I assume, you know, full control, a lot of control in my relationships, and but consent and everything is very much so a part of that. Like my partner is very much so intertwined in every decision I make, and that is if that's what they need me to be. Um, I fulfill that. But I submit to them a lot back in those days. I submitted a lot just out of habit, like I just submitted a lot. Like people think that like sexual trauma stays sexual. Like it only affects the sexual part of your life, and it's like, no, it's called trauma for a reason because it touches every part of your life. And it took me going through therapy and mentorships after mentorships, to finally understand as a full blown adult that, you know, that I was doing that out of habit because that's what I was taught. That was my first introduction to sex. So when all else seems to be failing, it's my failsafe. Or when I don't have the energy to do much else, I just do that. Because at least I know what to expect. At least I know I'm gonna get the job done somehow. You know? Like it was real easy for me to slip back into survival mode. And that wasn't even sexual, you know. Like and unfortunately that gives people the misconception that I'm non-confrontational. I am not non-confrontational.
mm,
I very much was born and grew up and reside near the House of Violence. Okay. I'm just saying.
the house of violence. Y'all heard it. Y'all heard him say it. The house of violence. He would choose violence any moment.
Yeah, violence is an option. It
Yeah.
is always an option. I'm not telling you to choose it. I'm just saying that for me, it is always an option. Okay? You know, people say violence is never the answer. I'm not one of those people.
Exactly. And
I'm not.
it's so crazy because as we were discussing this yesterday, we talked about that turning point in ourselves where we begin to find ourselves. And for me, I had a complete sexual position switch. And I've heard a lot of social media influencers. One that I love, I don't want to get his name wrong, but I think it's his last name is Brandon. I think his first name is David Brandon. I think that's him. If not, I will put his information below. But he was talking about the fact that even in the queer community, the gay community, the umbrella of queerness, that so many young people today are doing roles because they think it's expected of them. There's this whole verse, there's this whole top bottom verse, there's this whole verse bottom, this, that, and the other. Then there's this whole side thing. That there's just so many. And my thing is, I don't care about what a man is because I respect the man's right to be whatever he wants to be in the moment. I also believe that you can be any of these at any moment. But a lot of people hear me talk about my heyday when I realized my power. And that job helped me realize my power. And this is what we said yesterday that caused us and sparked us to do this conversation. Once I had a taste of who I naturally was, being me, being the dominant, I became drunk off of the power of being dominant. One summer, 85 men knocked him out because I was taking my body back from
Yeah.
all that had happened, the rapists, the molesters, all of them. But then I became so drunk off of being myself
Yeah.
that I just it was the longest drink I've ever drank.
Yeah. I too have experienced that, and I got to the point where I was driven to celibacy because you know because like I started to feel consumed by it, and I didn't want. Now mind you, I was enjoying the fuck out of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was enjoying myself,
Yeah.
like especially when I realized that most women are naturally submissive,
Mm-hmm.
and I just naturally just fit the dominant space.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I started to enjoy myself immensely, and put those skills that I learned to work. And and yeah, it led me to celibacy because I was so afraid of me fucking up my life behind a woman, behind sex.
Yeah.
I literally would not have been able to handle the shame.
Yeah.
And so I chose celibacy instead. And unfortunately for me, I went celibate cold turkey and nearly almost drove myself insane. And that may sound weird to people, but people don't understand too that like a lot of things get put into motion
Yeah.
when sexual trauma happens.
Oh.
A lot of things get put into motion. And one of those things will be, you know, how you initiate sex, how you talk to people, how you manipulate others, if you manipulate others, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Um it will also have a hand in what your fears are, but it will also be the same thing that is your drug, literally.
Yeah.
It will be the same thing that gives you the best high you have ever had,
Yeah. Yeah.
and mind you, I was a substance user,
Yeah.
you know, and nothing topped.
Yeah.
You know,
The
the whole act of seducing someone and having those intimate moments with them and having power over them and control over them and then like fucking their brains out. You know, like, but yeah, so I literally almost drove myself insane. And like, it's like people really do believe, I feel that people really do believe that when someone says they were sexually assaulted, that they're only talking about the sex.
Mm-mm.
Like like the act was the violation itself, you know?
And it's not. There's more to it.
And what I would like for people to understand is that the act of sex was not the violation, it was a part
Mhm.
of the violation. Because what makes rape so terrible is that it's a process every time. You are broken down, literally, every time. And also, too, most people, I feel, when they hear the word rape, they only think of like the brutal scenes that they see in movies and the horror stories that they hear. And it's like, yes, those happen, but even those have a process.
There are passionate rapes.
What I mean?
Passionate. There are passionate. There are under.
Because whether the victim knew them or not, isn't there always more to the story?
Yeah. Yeah.
Isn't there always a continuation of the story? Usually talking about how the perp had been seen around the home or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or the victim recalls bumping into them on the street or something. Like no words were said, just oh they caught their eye and they were gone, you
And
know.
I want to piggyback off what you're saying here because what we need to understand about rape is that it is not about the sex. Rape is about the control anyway. It is a crime done. Sexuality and the sex of it is the vehicle, but the vehicle leads you to the control of whatever you want, and
Mhm.
people and this and that. And I used to say this all the time, and my grandmother is actually the one that really bursted my bubble. Like she burst my bubble because she's, we would talk about our fears and different things like that. And I don't have very many. I've seen a lot in my life. I've had to deal with a lot as it is coming out in my exposés on my website. But I told my grandmother, oh, I fear being raped. I fear being raped. That's like my number one thing. And my grandmother looked at me and said, sweetie, it happened already. Why are you afraid of that? It happened already. And
Yeah,
I had to process that because I had to admit to myself, oh shit, somebody already assumed the control over me.
yeah,
And you know what's so crazy? This whole, like you said, to piggyback even further off of what you're saying about the sex not really being the agenda, like
mhm,
I couldn't sign to a major label. I walked away from modeling contracts. Like I literally turned my back on a mainstream career because of the control.
mhm,
Control.
mhm,
The
mhm,
complete and total overpowering of my autonomy.
mhm, mhm,
It shaped my entire life. I am sitting here, the Queen of Shade, because I was raped. I am
mhm,
sitting here, this powerhouse of light and love, because I was raped. Because the control was so unbearable, so wrenching and breaking that it forged literally one of the most benevolent people this world will ever know. And I say that to say this bullshit about we heal from this. You can learn to process it. You can learn to understand that it is not your fault. But that shit becomes a part of us. And we
Yeah, I was
carry that
just
shit. We carry that shit in our chest of tools for the rest of our lives. My therapist taught me that all relationships, every relationship going forward would have difficulty because of a fear of getting too close. Told me
Mhm,
that. Why? And get
mhm,
it. But it made the Queen of Shade because people are like, oh, well, she's always by herself. I'm safest by myself. It's not the sexual act. Being around people who want to dominate me will cause a reaction because you already said it. Violence is a possibility
mhm,
because when I started processing, I got angry. I didn't get hurt. I do this in every way of my life now. I fight for myself. I fight for myself, tooth and nail. Sometimes me and my grandmother go at it because I will not assume the position of just a submissive, subservient 43-year-old grandson with no voice. It just
mhm,
won't, it just will not, nothing in me will allow that.
mhm,
So I have at times been given a difficult rap. But
mhm.
that's because of and I tell people, oh, you just don't know what I've been through. And they want to act like, oh, well, you shouldn't, people don't have to know what you've been through. Yes, they do. And the first person that needs to know what you've been through is you.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it will literally help you understand everything and why you do what you do.
I have probably told not the full story, but like the cliff notes. I have probably told the cliff notes of my story to almost every sexual partner. Mm, because I was one of those people who also had PTSD
Too.
from it. So I knew, because it had already happened before, that there may be something innocently done while we're interacting, whether sexual or not, but especially if we're sexual, where I may unintentionally react out of character.
Yeah.
And I need them to understand that there's a slight risk, you know.
Yeah.
I got it under control. It's not outrageous, but there's a slight risk that I'm not in control of. So when I found when I tell people the cliff notes of my story, they move a little bit more intentionally,
They know how to handle you. They know how to work with you. Yeah.
more carefully,
Mm-hmm.
Even if I'm the first person that they've ever encountered, that they knew of, that they, were doing this with,
Yeah.
that told them a story like that, they move as carefully as I allow them to.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
this is the kind of conversation, this is the kind of trauma you really need to have with everyone who is interested in anything more than just a passing relationship. And my thing is, I just, like, honestly, with me, I put the kibosh on a lot of romantic relationships. Romantic relationships, I really do not need, and I do not desire. Now, mind you,
Very sexual, so.
I am asexual. That the people that they didn't know that they know that now because of you, because you're my friend and I am actually clinically asexual. But I do enjoy.
World, my bad.
No, 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 no. That's fine. We're talking. Listen, I probably am asexual because of what happened.
At
See?
first I was gonna say, yeah, well, your situation turned you asexual, so.
Yeah. And this is the thing. You know, a lot of people they this thing, these things that we are talking about never heal. I've had therapy for 20 plus years. I become like, as my grandmother says, they're more bearable. They're more bearable.
Yeah. Mhm.
But like I said, I don't have a need for romantic attachment. Now, mind you, you know this about me. Very sexual. The best communicator. The person doesn't feel like they're being used, but they're
Mhm.
there for sex.
Mhm.
That's why I had to say, okay, and we've talked about this for years now, but that's why I had to say, okay, I can't just have sex with normal people because they're not going to understand my need to disconnect, my need to just quit it and this and that and call you again. That's why I had to elevate to escorts. I needed the control, and I needed it to be there and readily accessible when I decided that's what I wanted. I completely cut out the whole song and dance of trying to get to know you, to speak, to pique your sexual desire. And no, I paid you, honey. The money's on the bed. Now roll on top of it and put your ass in the air. Like that's who I am now. And people need to understand these things, like it or not, the
Mhm.
ugly parts of ourselves. And I don't look at that part as ugly. That's one of, I'm very proud of that because I'm very proud of being able to say I have found a way to get what I want, and I'm willing to do what I need to do, which is pay to get what I want, to make sure I don't damage someone out here that, oh, I thought you really loved me. And no, sweetie, I love the idea of you, but I love the intercourse more, and only the intercourse. So I put into place certain
Yeah.
things so that I wouldn't hurt the general population.
Because of how she pursued me, I I mean, I was an honest kid to begin with, but because of how she pursued me, I have a extensive distaste for manipulation for manipulation's sake, you know. But not only that, I also um don't like to be lied to. I mean, no one likes to be lied to, but I mean, let's be honest. The general public thinks little white lies are okay, you know, or lies that feed into a delusion, and this, is that, and the third. I hate all of it.
Yeah.
I hate all of it, and I think the reason is because I will never know if all the sweet little things she said, if all the compliments she gave, or whatever, I will never know for sure. I will never know 100% if she really meant that,
Mhm.
or if all it was that I looked pretty and weak.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I will never know.
And
And even if I could talk to her today, because
mhm,
of the age that we were at, she may not even fucking remember. You know, if I said those words to her, all she may be able to do is shrug and be like, maybe, you know,
to not even recall what
you
you
know, and
so what you need so desperately for understanding. Fuck closure. Understanding. And
mhm,
get it so that you can understand not her, but you.
understand myself.
Yeah. And to not get that.
Yeah,
Literally to not get that.
like part of my healing journey, a big part of my healing journey was learning to accept that I will never have the full story.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That I will never have the full story, And here's the list of evidence as to why I will never understand the full story and how I have to let go of control because there's no control for me to grasp
Right.
because of my age, because of her age, and because of the circumstances and the substances that were used.
Yeah.
I will never have the full story.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was a hard thing for me to accept
Yeah.
because in every other part of my life, I can get answers
Yeah.
for everything. Even if the answer is nothing, I'm fine with that. It's an answer, you know? But in this one part of my life,
Yep.
I just have to literally throw my hands up in the air and go, lost cause.
Yeah. And no one talks about how hurt and how shaming that is. Because
Yeah.
it's like, excuse me, it's like, I don't know. Mine is dead. I didn't get the chance to talk to him either. Um, for a long time, I felt like it was my fault because I didn't tell anyone. But I've since let that go. I had one of my beautiful girlfriends said, "Baby, children only know what feels good." And he was doing it in a way that it would feel good and it would not be very, very invasive, you know? But
Mhm.
you're talking, he, at that time, 8 years old, he was talking to a young bastard whose mother had him out of wedlock, 17, and my father was 28. They had mental illness. They didn't raise me. They were already talking to a child that had been abandoned. They were already talking to a child that did not have the family support or dynamic that he needed. So I was already at, like, what my grandmother has taught me in her 40 years of teaching school. I was already an at risk child. See?
Mhm. Mhm.
So it was easy to think that no one was going to come looking for an at risk child.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, I'm just going to piggyback off of this, but a lot of our young people in the communities are at risk, and other communities, we won't name any names, but they're taking advantage of these children because they're at risk. No mother, no father, foster care, this is that and the other. Oh, your body is just there. It's just a body to be used. It's just a body to be, like, if you look even in the queer community with even men that are submissive, there's a trauma there
Mhm.
because they are literally told to just lay there and take it. This is literally said to them during the act. Shut up and take it. Just take it. Take all of this. Take this dick. And it's like, wow. And then to get up from that experience and have the queer community around you say, oh, well, you're a bottom, so you have no rights anyway. The fuck you mean? Oh, well, you're a bottom, so you're not. What do you expect? You're not going to be much in this community. No, my community praises tops.
Mhm.
Bottoms, though bottoms are essential. Now look at this, essential workers,
Not
essential workers.
not only that, but bottoms make more.
Yeah, honey, we have the money. You're right. You're right. Because get this, we're
No, no,
usually feminine.
no, no, it's very funny because in the community, everybody praises tops. Oh, where are the tops? This, that, and the third. But yet, it's the bottoms and the verses that put the community on the map.
Hmm. Always has been.
Who are the billionaires and who have their names in lights and shit and
Hmm.
blasted all over social medias and stuff.
Hmm.
I'm just saying, isn't it funny how most celebrities or people who are very popular that come out as gay or whatever. Isn't it mighty funny that those very successful people either turn out to be a bottom
Yeah.
or a verse?
Yeah.
Because mind you, if you did not know this, when someone in the gay community says, "Oh, I prefer not to answer," or they say, "I like what I like," baby, that's verse. That's verse.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's verse.
I don't want to have to choose.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't want to have to choose. Yeah.
Exactly. If a gay man tells you he's no label, he doesn't choose nothing like that, baby, he's verse. He's verse. Because if he was the top, he would just say that because that's what the community praises.
Yeah. And you know, staying right there, it is so sad that our community, the queer community has so much heteronormativity and misogyny in it. We are all men. And we are literally living our lives by the guidelines of a community that would no sooner watch us all bleed out in front of the White House on the lawn than acknowledge our very existence. They would literally no sooner paint the American flag with our blood. Oh, but they already did that before. Vic, thank you. I believe we have given them enough to chew on. I believe that this is a conversation starter. And I believe that people that watch this will get with their friend groups and they will discuss. So I believe that we have done our job. And I believe, and I commend us both for being able to reveal as much as we did and still say we don't owe you the full story. A lot of those details we will keep. We're best friends. A lot of those details we will keep to the close to the vest. But we have given them enough to start not the healing journey, the understanding journey.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because I tell people all the time, it's okay it is okay to say, I do not understand what you have been through, but I'm not going to judge you either.
Mm-hmm.
Because when someone tells you their story, especially someone who has trauma, yes, we're looking for someone who understands, but at the same time, don't misunderstand me. We do not expect to find anyone who understands. So therefore, we do not expect you to say, "Oh, I get it. Oh, I totally understand." No, that's not what we want from you. At the bare minimum, just listen.
Mm-hmm.
Just listen. Listen, nod your head, and go, "Oh, I'm sorry that happened to you." And leave it there.
Yeah.
Because you will make that person's day. Because, like I said, we do not expect empathy. We do not expect sympathy. We do not expect any positive or neutral reactions. That's not what we're used to. We're used to it being all bad. Hence
Shame,
why we have trauma.
shame and embarrassment and being less than men and, all kinds of things. You're right. We're used to these
These
things.
are the things that we expect from you. So the best thing for you to say, those of you who are well-meaning, because some of you are just assholes,
Yeah.
but for the well-meaning, the best thing for you to say is, "I'm sorry that happened to you," or say, "I don't understand but I'm not gonna judge you.
He's right. My best friend is right. What I want from you is understanding of why I am the way I am and why I do what I do. That's it. That's it. I
Same.
want you to understand, well, he had this happen, this happened, this happened. That made him how he is. Now that you've heard this story in totality, understand that, because people, oh, well, you can choose to be how you are. No, some of it is intrinsically who you are. And we, Vic and myself and other survivors, do our damnedest to show the world a more palatable side. That's it. Because to be quite honest, you shouldn't act or expect us to act civil, normal, compliant with anything. Because these situations changed us forever. Changed us.
Yeah. If you pick up
Yeah.
if you pick up a psychology book, it will talk about neural pathways and how when something disrupts the natural process of your development, it literally changes the neural pathways in your brain.
And I want to piggyback on something right there because people say, well, you were molested, you were raped, you're gay. No, 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 baby. The reason why I've had so much time struggling with this is because I was gay before he did it.
Yes.
Let's get that right. I was
Yeah.
gay before it happened.
Yeah. Mhm.
So understand that. It is not, well, you were touched, so you're gay. No, 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 baby. I was gay before it happened. I knew I was gay at 5 years old. This happened at 8.
Mhm. Mhm.
I knew then. So
Mhm.
do not confuse, oh, he touched me and now I'm this way, because that is the worst response you can give. And then I'm going to tell you, if you go around our community with that response, the one you get back, you will not like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your sexuality you really are born with,
Mhm.
and it's still
Orientation.
not,
Orientation.
and it's still, yeah, your sexual orientation, I mean, and it's still not completely understood what brings that about.
Yeah.
But also too, the only situation I could think of that would result in someone believing that they are gay when they're not is if that idea was literally forced upon them and that was a part of the assault. You get me? But understand this, most of the time, that's not the point. Most predators, yeah, they want to turn you into something, and yeah, some of them get off on doing that. But for most predators, what they want to turn you into is just their personal whatever.
Yep.
It's not about like if a man rapes another man, it's not necessarily about turning this man gay. It's more so just forcing that man to be gay for you.
We have given them enough. So listen, this is season 3, and I'm asking everyone, in your minds, what is your definition of beauty?
Anything that makes me feel can be beautiful.
Mhm. You like the feeling of it. And what feeling do you want it to be invoked? Because we have so many feelings. So anything,
Fascinating.
fascination. That's it. Because someone said originality the other day. You're saying fascination. What makes beauty is fascination. You're fascinated with it. Yes. Yes.
It's
So
even the horror can be beautiful. I
Yeah.
can find beauty in literally almost anything.
Ladies and gentlemen, you have heard our stories. I just ask that you listen objectively and that you not understand everyone, but understand why when you deal with me, when you deal with Vic, we have a specific set of ways that you can deal with us. And we do not deviate from those ways that you can deal with us. Because those ways we have created and crafted to deal with our trauma and not to spew it onto you. So, ladies and gentlemen, you have heard the vocal stylings of Mr. Victor Williams. So, did you enjoy? I know that I did. It is always a pleasure to speak to one of my boys or girls and have conversations that are meaningful. I hope that this conversation gave you a few nuggets that you could take into your own life, activate, and get changes and results for the better. So, listen. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, you might want to do that. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Queen of Shade. And then after you do that, you need to go to my main page, scroll down to season 1 and 2, and watch them both. I love you. And I do this because it is an amazing opportunity to bring humanity to some of the most beautiful people in the world that you've never really heard speak beyond just a few segments on social media. Conversation is important. Back and forth, the dialogue, networking. It's how we all get anywhere in life. Trust me, baby. If you're not networking, you might as well start because I guarantee you, networking will get you further than any money exchange ever could. As I said, I love you. And remember, I am the Queen of Shade. That is a fact and not a mother opinion. Mwah.
Don't worry, I'm a professional. TheQueenofShade.com. That's right, TheQueenofShade.com.